Hello, everyone. Good day. Welcome to another topic on the sexual health. Okay, so last time we discussed about the biological sex, referring to the prenatal stage, the pubertal stage, during the prenatal stage, that is on the formation of the gonads, the internal organs, the epididymis, the seminal vesicles for male, fallopian tubes and uterus for female, and the formation also of the external organs, and so with the pubertal stage. We also discussed the three abnormalities, the androgenital, the androgen insensitivity, and the 5-alpha reductase deficiency. Okay, so this time, uh, as mentioned in the first video, we are going to talk about gender and sexual orientation. Because it is a common topic in the society nowadays, since it is an issue. Okay, so there was a specific time that it became a major issue. Okay, so gender and sexual orientation is a major issue. That is why this Soji bill is. So this time, let us define the terms. Okay, so what is gender? Okay, so gender, it is a term used to describe the biologically or socially influenced characteristics people use to define males and females. That is according to an article in the year 2017. Okay, so there are two terms associated with gender, the biological and the social characteristics. So meaning to say there are some characteristics which are biological assigned at birth, and there are some socially created characteristics. Okay, so it is shaped by cultural expectations and social roles. So sorry, that affect people's self-concept, behaviors, and aspirations. Okay, so that is gender. It also refers what is gender identity. Okay, so gender identity. Okay, so when we say identity, that is your identity, that is how you were identified. Okay, so it is the awareness of one's gender identity, usually starts with the self-categorization, which influences individuals to engage in gender type behaviors. Okay, so how you categorize yourself, that is your gender identity. And there are different categorizations which will be explained in the next slides. Okay, so and with that gender categorization, that will lead you to engagement in the gender type behaviors also. Okay, so that is gender identity. Next is on the gender schema theory. Okay, so what is this gender schema theory? Okay, so when we say schema, these are set of experiences that is registered into your mind. So previous experiences, past experience, and this past experience has some use with what you are in the present. Okay, so in BEM's 1981 gender schema theory, our identification as a man or a woman affects our development because it directs what we pay attention to and process. So how we identify ourselves also affects our development. Okay, so because that is what we are going to engage with. Okay, so our involvement in such activities would really uh, uh, refer to or would differ between a man and a woman. So it is usually basis. It is part of the basis on our development. Okay, so if we identify our identification as a man or woman affects our development also. Development in all aspects. Okay? These are the different um, gender identity. Okay, so cisgender. Okay, so cisgender, it is a male or female that identifies with the sex assigned at birth. So cisgender people also identify to some degree with the gender norms, excluding sexual orientation associated with their sex. Okay, so you are a excuse me, you are a cisgender if your gender identity is the same with your assigned sex at birth. So if your assigned sex at birth is for male and you identify yourself as a male also, then you are a cisgender. If you are a female, then identifying yourself as a female in terms of your um, gender identity, so you are also a cisgender. Okay. Next to that, we have the gender queer. Okay, so it is used to describe a gender identity when the binary conceptualization of gender, male and female, does not accurately describe an individual's gendered outlook or self-concept. Okay, so it is not a male, literally a male. It is not purely a male, not purely on the female. Okay, so that is gender queer. Next, we have the intersex. The intersex. It is a describes various medical conditions wherein an individual's reproductive anatomy or genitals do not fit the binary definition of male or female. Okay, so lahi ang iyang genitals, iyang external organs doesn't fit um with the external organ for male and female. So siguro ani masod tong abnormalities in sexual development sa intersex. Next is a transgender man. Okay, so mga transgender man, okay, so yung at present, he identifies himself as a man. Okay, so with the transgender man, it is a man whose sex is female, but he lives and identifies as a male. Okay, so for that, atong basihan ani is uh unsa siya at the present. Okay, so for the transgender man, okay, so female siya, iyang assigned sex at birth. However, he identifies himself as a male. So that is the transgender man. So when we see transgender woman, it is a woman whose sex is male but lives and identifies as female. So mao ni opposite ni transgender man. So si transgender woman, iyang assigned sex at birth is male. However, he lives and identifies as female. So that is a transgender woman. Okay, so I guess the categorizations, the different gender identity terminologies, starting with the cisgender, the genderqueer, the intersex, the transgender man, and the transgender woman. Okay, so that is gender identity. So how that is refers to the self-awareness, how you identify your gender. Okay, so that is self-concept. Okay, so when we say gender expression, how you express yourself in reference to your gender identity. Okay, so gender expression refers to how people express masculinity themselves and behave, which may be true to their gender identity, such as when they outwardly convey their sense of femininity. Okay, so there is a phrase there which may be true to their gender identity. So there is a tendency that this is your gender identity, but still you express yourself in contrast with your gender identity. Say for example, a transgender man. Example ra ni ha. Okay, so he identifies himself as a transgender man, but the way how he express himself is still the same with a female. Okay, so that is gender expression. But mostly, their gender expression is the same with their gender identity. Okay, so maura ang iyahang gender identity and gender expression. But in some cases, say for example, there are some who identifies themselves or herself as a female. Female gyud siya, pure, straight. However, iyahang expression is na pagka-boyish, iyang sinuotan is somewhat like boyish, but still, ang iyang gender identity is a female. So, mao na siya kalahian ni gender identity o gender expression. Okay, so next to that, we have the sexual orientation. Okay, so when we say sexual orientation, this has something to do with sexual and romantic interest. Musod na diri ang romantic interest. So it refers to the stable pattern of attraction or sexual interest to a member of a particular sex. It can also mean the complete absence of any sexual interest. So, asa mo nabilong ani? Naba mo nabilong ani sa complete absence of any sexual interest? Okay? So, sexual orientation should not be mistaken as sexual behavior because they are not necessarily the same. For instance, some people engage in same-sex behavior and fantasy but maintain a strong heterosexual orientation. Okay? So, mura po ni sa gender expression o gender identity. Okay, so sexual orientation and sexual behavior isn't necessarily the same. Okay? So that is on the sexual orientation. So there are different sexual orientation terminologies. So if we have gender identity terminologies, we also have sexual orientation terminologies as follows. Okay, so asexual. Okay, so asexual refers to the absence of physical or sexual attraction to another human being. So may giangayon ani iro or iring? Excuse me. An asexual man or woman can have romantic, intellectual, or emotional attraction to others, but they do not engage in physical, sexual activities. Okay, so naala di sila ma-feel, dili ingon nga kanang sa man what is a term used to define kanang may feeling kung sa kuan pa poker face. Okay, so an asexual man or woman they can have romantic, intellectual, or emotional attraction. Ma-attract gihapon sila. However, they do not engage in physical sexual activities. Okay, so that is asexual. Okay, so next to that we have bisexual. Okay, so kani si bisexual, the sexual orientation that describes either a male or a female who is attracted to both males and females. Okay, so could it be a male attracted to the same male and a female? Could it be a female attracted to the same female and a male? So that is bisexual. Bi means two. Okay, so asexual, bisexual. Next to that, we have the gays. Okay, so depending on the context, gays can refer to gay males and lesbians. Okay, so gay males are self-identified men who are emotionally, physically, romantically, and sexually attracted to people who identify as male. So sa gays, these are male to male. They usually engage to male to male ang ilang sexual activities. Okay? Lesbian. Okay, so a lesbian, it is a self-identified female who is emotionally, physically, romantically, and sexually attracted to other people who identify as female. So that is a lesbian. Okay, so a self-identified female, iyang sex assigned at birth is a female, and she is attracted to a female also. Okay, so that is a lesbian. Next, we have heterosexual. Okay, so homo and hetero. Okay, so a heterosexual, an individual who identifies as male or female, is attracted to individuals of the opposite sex. Okay, so that is heterosexual. Okay, so for the cisgender, male to female, female to male, then for this female to male, which is a transgender man, okay, so asa man siya mo attract? So man to woman. Okay, so for the transgender woman, mattract po siya sa man. Okay, so that is heterosexual. Next to that is the queer. Okay, so it is umbrella term used to describe an individual's self-concept of their sexual orientation identity. Okay, so could it be you are with those mentioned katong mga asexual, bisexual, um, gays, lesbian, that refers to a queer. Okay, so murag mo siya a general concept of those different categories. Okay? So next to that, what are the factors contributing to sexual orientation? Nganong na maingana? Okay? So again, with the definition in the first slides, we discussed about gender expression as biologically and socially affected characteristics. So first we have the biological factor. So there is evidence of a genetic link in sexual orientation. It was found that 52% of monozygotic twins whose genetic codes are nearly identical share a gay male sexual orientation as compared with 22% of fraternal twins. So this is not true to all. However, there is a tendency that an identical twin shares a gay male sexual orientation. Okay? So, gay male sexual orientation for an identical twin. And 22% only for fraternal twins, those who are not identical. Okay, so next, on the study, a line of investigation increasingly anchored to explain homosexuality is on the fraternal birth order effect. Okay, so how are you? Where are you in the siblings? What is your birth order? Okay, so it is seen that the probability of becoming a homosexual man increases with the number of older brothers as compared to men who have no siblings, have younger siblings only, or have older siblings, or older sisters. Sorry. Okay, so homosexual man, so that is a man that is attracted to a man. Okay, so the tendency is with the increasing number of older brothers. So say for example, you are a sibling of 5, na ikaw kinamanghuran, imong kinamagwangan, there are 4, you have 4 older brothers. So there is a tendency, there is a probability of becoming a homosexual man. Okay, so siguro nahurot na ang androgen sa imuhang upat ka igsuon. Okay, so munang basig estrogen na ang ningdong sa imong lawas. Okay? So it could be a biological factor. The effect was quite large, in which the probability of being gay increased by 33% of every older biological brother that he has. So same diagnosis. The explanation for this, the material immune hypothesis, in which some mothers become progressively immune to masculinizing hormones as they bear male fetuses, and such hormones may be deactivated in the later pregnancy of their sons. Okay, so some mo lagi to ang giingon nga the amount of androgen present in the body, okay, so of a mother decreases. Okay, so kay nahurot naman ang androgen sa imuha pang nag-una nga mga igsuon. Okay, so in that case, gamay na lang ang mabilin sa imuha. So, um, that's the tendency. Okay, so that's a probability. Okay, next to the biological factor is the environmental factor. So, social cognitive theorists explain how sexual orientation could develop. They particularly look into the antecedents and consequences of the behavior. They look into the process of observational and experiential learning. So, some of the theories for homosexual orientation includes early exposure to enjoyable male-to-male or female-to-female sexual encounters. Okay? So why is it that there are homosexual orientation? Probably because of the early exposure to enjoyable male-male or female-female sexual encounters. The second, okay, so the unavailability of a sexual partner of the opposite sex in one's cultural groups. Okay, so that's the second uh, environmental factor which would affect your gender or sexual orientation. Or, as reported by some, an experience of childhood sexual abuse by someone of the same gender that influences their sexual orientation. So those are some the environmental factors which affects also your sexual orientation. Okay, so there are multi-dimensional view of the sexual self. Okay, so this is gender-bread person. Okay, gender identity. The neutral is a gender queer. Could it be a man or woman? Okay, so gender identity is how in your head think about yourself. It is the chemistry that composes you and how you interpret what that means. Could it be a man or a woman? That is your gender identity. Gender expression is how you demonstrate your gender through the ways you act, dress, behave, and interact. Could it be in a masculine way or in a feminine way or androgynous? Okay, so biological sex refers to the objectively measure organs, hormones. Okay, so biological sex that is assigned at birth, could it be male or female? For the sexual orientation, okay, so it refers to the romantic interest, sexual interest. Could it be a homosexual, heterosexual, or a bisexual? Okay, so that ends our discussion on the gender and sexual orientation. So what is the importance of discussing this topic? It is in order for us to have awareness of the different concepts about gender and sexual orientation. And if we have this awareness, if we are already aware with what are the different categories of gender identity, sexual orientation, and what are the factors which contribute to that thing, what are the factors that contribute to that specific gender or sexual orientation, okay, so which includes the environmental and the biological factors. So with that, upon knowing that, okay, so we learn how to respect someone which has this gender identity or sexual orientation. Okay, so ours is awareness. If we are already aware, okay, so meaning we have enough understanding on that topic, so we learn how to show respect. Okay? So we know how to respect others because we know why do this happen. Okay? So it's not their choice. Okay? So or it may be their choice. It may be environmental factor, or could it be an a biological factor. So if you have questions regarding the topic, okay, so you may ask me in the messenger or search it on the internet. Okay? Thank you so much for listening. Have a good day.